And with that, call the roll, please.
Hey, Commissioner Markham is absent with notice. Middleton,
Here.
Gershenson,
Here.
McGillivray,
Here.
Quarles,
Here.
Howell, Long,
Here.
Cowell,
Here.
Howell, I know you're there.
Here.
Zach,
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I need an approval for both sets of minutes, please. I'm a motion. Commissioner Kowal, supported by Commissioner McGillivray. Are there any questions about the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed, say nay. Motion carries. I need an approval of the agenda, motion to approve the agenda. Commissioner Long, supported by Commissioner Walls. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries. Now we are going to move on to public comment. And Andrea, do we have any public comment?
Good morning. Your public comment lines are open. There are no callers and there are no online submissions.
Thank you. Hearing and seeing none, I will close public comment. Now we are moving on to the communications, and I need a motion to approve the communications. Commissioner Gershenson, supported by Commissioner Long. Is there any discussion on any of these items? Any questions, discussion? Okay, seeing none, let's call the roll.
We can do voice vote if you like.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's voice vote. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those, anybody opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to the regular agenda. Item number 1, Water Resources Commissioner Campbell number 2 drain, fund number 25059, jurisdictional transfer. I need a motion, please, to move this. Commissioner Kowal, supported by Commissioner Gershenson. Thank you, and I see I have Jeff Wilson with us today. Welcome. You want to tell us what's going on, please?
Sure. This is a drain that was established in 1897 in Hazel Park, and it runs along Woodward Heights Boulevard in Hazel Park. Hazel Park pays 100% of the assessment for this drain, and they recently requested to take over the drain. That would mean transferring the jurisdiction from the operation and maintenance of it from the Water Resources Commissioner's office to the city of Hazel Park. They have the equipment, they have the staff, and they have the experience to do this, and the Water Resources Commissioner is agreeable to this. Under the drain code, this is allowed with approval from the County Board of Commissioners. So that's why we are here today.
Do I have any questions? Commissioner Middleton.
Yeah, Jeff, does this drain go underneath a whole bunch of houses? According to the drawings, it comes right down along the road and then it goes through a subdivision. Is it underneath those houses?
No, it is not, Commissioner Middleton. It is between the houses and the road. Most of it is in the road right of way for the Woodward Heights Boulevard, and then some of it along DeQuinder as well.
Okay. On our map, that red line, is that just a map or a line for mapping or what? I have Woodward Heights running across the top of my map, and I don't know what the side roads are. But okay, it looks like it's running in their driveways. So okay.
Yeah, that's correct. What you're seeing a lot of different mapping layers on that one, and because the drain is about 1.5 miles in length, the scale of that drawing, it's pretty tightly spaced on it. But you know, out in the field, there's a good amount of distance between you know, the center of the road and then the back of the houses where it fits in.
Okay, well, I just remember we had a problem with a drain going underneath the house and got into a row. So, okay, thank you.
That is not a problem on this one.
Okay.
Any other questions? Jeff, I have a question. I represent Hazel Park. Why would a community choose to take over a drain from the Water Resources Department? Commissioner.
They may think that because of their proximity to the drain and the fact that they maintain these themselves, but of different sizes than this drain, that they can do it more efficiently by keeping it in-house. And I believe that they're correct as well. You know, right now we're centralized out of Waterford, so anytime we're responding to this drain, we're driving all the way down to Hazel Park. Whereas if Hazel Park has the equipment and the staff, then they can respond much quicker and without all that drive time. So I believe it will be more efficient for them.
Thank you. That makes sense to me. I just to understand that. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
On item number 1, Commissioners Middleton,
Yes.
Hutchinson,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles, I can't hear you.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Powell,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes,
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
thank you. Item number 2,
Thank you.
facility. Thank you, Jeff. Item number 2, facilities management, facilities maintenance and operations, building management systems replacement project, 4th phase. And do we have Art Holdsworth? I need a motion. Commissioner Quarles, supported by Commissioner McGillivray.
Okay, Joe Murphy's here, so I can take the lead, and then Art might be trying to get on here because he was texting me.
He
Good
is
morning,
here.
Commissioners. This
Go ahead,
is part a resolution that we've been bringing forward almost every year now since 2016 of a major capital improvement plan to update our aging building management system. And this is the phase 4 part that we are bringing forward this year. It's $800,000 project. $662,000 of that is for materials and installation, and $88,000 for engineering services. And most of the work that's going to be done for this project is to take care of our courthouse facility, which is, you know, a fairly big building, 415,000 square feet. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you would like about this particular project and this phase of the building management system replacement project.
Commissioner McGillivray.
Yes. Is there a phase 5?
Yes, there is. The project is supposed to take place over a 8-year time frame, so we're getting close. We have, I think, 21 of our buildings have been implemented now with the new Niagara building automation system.
Okay.
Other questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
On item number 2, Commissioners Middleton,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Gillibrand,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes,
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carried.
thank you.
Thank
We're
you very much.
moving- Thank you.
Later, aye.
We're moving on to item number 3, Information Technology, Universal Communications and Collaboration Program, Phase 3, Group A, Wireless Network Project. And I need a motion to approve this, please. Commissioner Quarles, supported by Commissioner Kowal. And I want to welcome Mike Tim, our head of our technology department. Want to explain what we're approving?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for bringing this to the agenda. We have talked about the UCC program, our Universal Communication and Collaboration. That's our network upgrades. We're also doing phase 2, which are our voice over IP implementation, a new phone system. And the third phase is the wireless communication network for the county facilities. So as we discussed in the budget hearings, and then also just recently in the district court budget hearings, we have been working on pulling out, basically breaking the Wi-Fi project into phases. And this first group of sites will include the 4 district courts, most of the circuit court building, as well as the IT building where the infrastructure is housed, and the conference center and 5th floor of the executive office building in the first group. And that's about a $600,000 project that we expect will take about 5 months. So we will have the district courts completed before the end of the year. As soon as we get the core infrastructure into the IT building, which will include some of the security and whatnot, then we will move to the district courts. It includes labor and professional services from vendors that will also be doing the installation of the wireless access points, as well as some of the wiring that needs to be done. And there will be some enhancements with the wireless network. You may be familiar with the current wireless that is in some parts of the county today, and that the coverage is kind of spotty. So the coverage is going to be vastly improved. It's been engineered. That was part of the engineering work that we were doing the last few months. So we'll have much better coverage, stronger signal. The core infrastructure that we implemented in UCC phase 1 will also give us much faster speeds across this wireless network. And then finally, the last enhancement that we think is critically important from a security standpoint, this will give us actually 2 wireless networks. One that will be available to the public, and then a second wireless network that's available to employees by using your employee ID to authenticate. So it improves security and also coverage and speed. And again, the district courts and circuit court are the first implementation phase of this.
Questions? Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mike. I'm happy to hear that the district courts are getting the wireless. We had quite a discussion about that during the budget hearing, so that's very good to hear that that's being implemented. And as far as the circuit court, the whole building, does that include the Board of Commissioners? Not that we're there right now, but hopefully we will be ultimately, and maybe hopefully soon. But I know that getting wireless in there has been quite a chore. So I hope it includes the Board of Commissioners as well.
You know, actually, almost literally the day that we went off site because of the coronavirus, We actually, as we implemented the new tablets for each of the board members and the board staff, we also implemented a new Wi-Fi network in the board conference rooms and the board auditorium. So it is actually there and live already, waiting for your return.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Middle.
Yeah, Tim, Mike, we'll believe you being we can't go there. Thank you.
Can you give us a timetable on the Wi-Fi in the district courts, please?
Yes, they'll be done before the end of the year. We're working, we still have to finish up the contracts with our implementation vendors. We have an engineering firm and a wiring firm who will be installing the actual wiring. So as those contracts are finalized, we'll get detailed schedules. And the first step will be implementing the cabling and security inside of the IT facility. And then once we have that, the next steps will be the 4 district courts. So it should be within the next 3 months-ish. The engineering firm believes it can be done in about a 12-week period. So we'll still have to do contracting. We don't expect that to take too long once the funding is approved. So in 3 to 4 months, we'll have the district courts up and running on Wi-Fi.
I know that there are some concerns among commissioners on this committee about getting the Wi-Fi into the district courts. So I'm going to request that we have a monthly status update to
I'd be
this
happy to.
committee. And if you want to do it live or just informational and communications, a quick memo so that we know what's going on, I would appreciate that. You know, I know several commissioners would like to know that. So thank you. Any other questions for Mike Tim? Being none, let's call the roll, please.
On item 3, Commissioners Gershenson,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Item number 4, Board of Commissioners Tri-Party Road Improvement Program Fiscal Year 2020 Appropriation, City of Rochester, Drainage Improvements on Washington Road, Project number 55621. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Long, supported by Commissioner McGillivray. And I have Adam as my presenter, Commissioner Kokendorfer. Is he with us today, or is there anybody that can speak to this project? Are there any questions about this project from commissioners? Well, we are lucky to seeing that there's no questions or concerns. Let's call the roll.
On item number 4, Commissioners McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. That is the end of the regular finance agenda meeting. Before we move into the clerk, we had on our schedule originally the goal of wrapping the budget today, but we are delaying that a week at the request of our staff along with administration wrapping up details. So the goal is to do it on Thursday, September 3rd. And my understanding is that we'll be ready to move forward on the amendments and so forth. So are there any questions, concerns, comments? Commissioner Middleton.
Yes, I had on my calendar that next Thursday was a board meeting. That must be wrong.
Yes, the board, we do have a board meeting, and I'm assuming that the board meeting is going to be at 5 p.m. instead of the original 9:30 in the morning. And we are
Okay.
going to do finance first thing in the morning and then do the board meeting at 5 o'clock like we've been doing.
Okay, and I had a Wednesday, September 2nd as a finance meeting. That won't be a finance meeting.
No, we're not going to do the Wednesday, September 2nd at this point. Mike Andrews, is there a need to do that, or can we just do any business on the 3rd?
Nope, I think September 3rd, you can wrap up the budget on that date.
Okay, so
Okay,
we
you.
will meet as a Finance and Infrastructure Committee on Thursday, September 3rd, 9:30 a.m. We'll deal with any agenda items that we have for finance and move into budget wrap up that day. And then we do have a board meeting that I would assume will be at 5 p.m. like we've been doing. Any other Commissioner Quarles?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if we have amendments, we should get them all in before the September 3rd meeting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, moving on into budget hearings. I want to welcome our clerk, Lisa Brown, and her team to talk to us today and give us an overview and, things that are happening, and then I'll open it up for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And before I get into the details of my budget, I'd like to take this opportunity to applaud and give kudos to my team on their outstanding dedication and flexibility. I know that these have been challenging times for everyone, but I think that my team has really stepped up from working through an RFP process while being shut down, putting in plexiglass, pushing to have all case types e-filed in our court, Zoom appointments for notary applicants, contracting with 16 cities and townships to to tabulate their absentee ballots, opening a satellite office. We've got people working from home. We've had people who have changed their processes and their job duties, but everyone has just stepped up to the plate and really just hit a home run, if I can do a baseball analogy for that. And I could not be any prouder. So, so those are some of the things that have been going on in the office. But now let me get into the budget. So in April, I had a phone meeting with Deputy Executive Carlson to discuss my budget and any impacts from COVID. And we went over that, and I'd like to go over all of those with you as well. And some of them, I think this is just the time that I'll go into the changes that we foresee, but also not just from COVID, but many of them are from COVID. And if anybody has a question as to which one is COVID related, I'm happy to point those out. But I guess, and I in that vein, on the first one, I think that while we're seeing an increase in revenue in certified copies, and unfortunately, a lot of that is death certificates. So we have that, but we've had an increase in expenditures for office supplies. I can tell you that March, I think it was 7th, if that was a Saturday, I came into the office because it was the Saturday before the presidential primary. Maybe it was the 6th, and we knew things were coming. So I came in, I put in an office supply order for Clorox wipes and all those sorts of PPE, everything we could get, because we already knew things were starting to disappear. So I know my staff, we all were putting in orders for those sorts of things before arts people said, hey, if you need PPE. So a little bit of an increase there, but still within our budget, well within our budget. We've had a lot of people go to my PC licenses, as we have a lot of folks working from home. We've gotten a lot of cell phones for our staff, for again, people who are working from home and dealing with calls for us for making appointments. Metered postage has been increased because so much of our business is by mail. We're doing so much by mail now, not having as many people come in, so we're mailing things out. And then hazard pay and overtime. A decrease in revenue, passports and photographs, obviously with the shutdown and even being by appointment. And beyond that, the federal government, the federal department has been on a status of emergency only for passports. So we have not been processing any passports. And honestly, I don't know when. I can't foresee when we're going to be processing them again. It'll be a while. So that's an impact on our budget. With the courts, we've had a decrease in revenue with their, I don't want to say shutdown, but altered plan, however, or functioning. So line items, motions, garnishments, appeals, costs, those are all down, as well as marriage fees, marriage waivers and marriage licenses. Those have all been down. And then admission to the bar. And the admission to the bar, for those of you who've been on finance, you may recall, I think I've said it every single year that I've been in office, that we're seeing a decline in admission to the bar. And this year it's going to be even less in our budget because of the shutdown. Normally we have a mass swearing in with the OCDA and all of our judges, and it's really a nice ceremony. But because of COVID and everything, that didn't happen, and it all happened at the state level. So SCAO took our money. But anyway, but even with that, even without that, I think we'd still be seeing a decline. We just see a steady decline in that line item. So, and then decreased expenditures. So there's a positive to the COVID too. Travel and conference, motor pool, personal mileage, because we're not going anywhere. And then I also decreased the order for county directories because our printer was shut down, and by the, with it being delayed, I said, why are we ordering this many? We're not getting them for months. So I reduced the order. So a little bit of favorability there, workshops and meetings, and then also charge card fees. So so that's that. In May, we had another discussion with Deputy Executive Carlson, was asked to put together a PowerPoint and to look at positions that have been vacant for a long time. And so put that together, and to that I proposed eliminating 2 positions in micrographics and 2 student positions. Those positions have not been utilized, and I know with the budget process that every position is financed, or the money's put in the budget for those at the beginning of the year 100%, and so to have that money like sitting there on hold, so to speak, waiting to see if those positions are filled, I understand that part. So we don't need those 2 more positions in micrographics. We're doing fine with the staff that we have there. And the 2 student positions we can also work without. So that happened. And then in June, I was asked, on top of the deleted positions, to reduce expenses by an additional $350,000, which is not easy. Although I've always, not only has my division always brought in more than what was budgeted, and even a couple of years ago, we were asked, and our budget was changed to bring in an extra $2 million. I've always come in under my budget, at least by $1 million. So some things were easier to cut than others, but my leadership style is that I don't believe that you ask somebody to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. And I want to make sure that our departments are staffed and have the resources they need. So the first cut that I made is eliminating a deputy clerk register position. Other reductions include, well, I'll group some of them. Over $40,000 from office supplies between all of my divisions, as well as over $75,000 in meter postage, again, from different divisions. A lot of that being from the metered postage being from jury, because we have changed our process of how we do that. But also a large chunk of that from the Register of Deeds office. And so from all of those changes, all of the, I mean, there's a lot of other ones. I'm sure you don't want to hear every single thing that I cut or by how much, but I did make a total reduction of the amount of $614,038. So I think that's a good chunk of change personally. And I appreciate my chiefs in helping me with all of that. I know it wasn't easy, and but we did that. So I do also want to point out that with the opening of the satellite office, obviously the expenditure line item of building space cost allocation will be higher because now I have another space that I'll be paying rent on, so to speak. But also to let you know that as of July 31st, we have reached over 100% of our budgeted revenue. So I think that's, oh, nope, I wanted to say that because I know you had questions on the sheet. Let me just get to those. And then if you have any additional questions.
You don't have to review, you don't have to go through the questions if you don't choose to. Commissioners can ask if there's something there that you want to highlight, please do, but it's not a requirement to go through all those questions.
Okay, well, I wasn't going to go through all of them, but, but just a few. But you know what, I don't have to. If you rather ask questions, and maybe there's
something, these are food for thought for all of us, and if there's something in there, I think you covered a bunch of them, but I'm going to open this up to the committee. Do I have any questions for Commissioner Middleton?
Yes, thank you. In the big book on professional services, page 144, whoops, maybe it's the page before that. Professional services in 19, it was only 709. We budgeted 36,000. Why such a jump in professional services the last couple of years, and then you continue the 36,000, 35,000 on through the rest of the budget?
I'm sorry, what page are you on?
142.
Oh, you said 144, and I'm like, there is no professional services on that page. Okay.
And it's toward the bottom of the page, professional service. $731, $458.
So this is in clerk. That was one of the line items that that I made reductions in. So, you know how I told you that I cut things? I did reduce that one, I believe, professional services by $15,000. So it won't be that 35,239 going forward. It will be less than that. It will be $20,239. And the reason being is, yeah, it was low last year, but I believe it was a couple of years ago that we did spend a little over $20,000. So I just wanted to make sure that we do have that money in there for when we do need it. But I did reduce that line item.
Was there a kind of a special event that made such a jump back from 19 to 21 that we jumped it that much?
Jenny, this is in you. Do you remember and we don't have the prior years in front of us, Commissioner Middleton, so I apologize, but I do know, like, that's why I didn't reduce it by more, because I looked at prior years. I like to look at the history and make sure that we'll be covered, but without having the year in front of me, Aunt Jenny, I don't know if you recall or not.
Do we
but
know what year that was?
I don't. I don't have it in front of me now. When I was working with Kevin, our fiscal analyst, we were looking at, like the last 4 years or something and looking at that. So I don't remember
We've
what it was.
used it for outside audits, professional services. We've used it for other items in the past. I can't remember exactly what that was, but it is something that we have used in the past up to that amount, the amount that you reduced.
Okay, thank you. And Pam, I miss your ruler to follow these lines in the budgets. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
I'll send you one in the mail.
Do I have questions from anyone else on the committee? Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Madam Clerk. My question actually is more not the budget so much, but Lisa, you mentioned passports, and mine is expiring November 1st. So I'm just going to be left with an expired passport, I guess, and I won't be able to go anywhere. You know anything more about that?
Yeah, as I said, it's the federal department that has really been, it doesn't make sense for us to take applications if they're not processing them. So, we're keeping an eye on their status, but they have been, for months, obviously now, just emergency only. So, Joe, do you have anything to add to that on passports?
No, other than unless it's a life and death situation, or you have a family member out of the country that's facing a life and death situation, that's the only passports that are being processed right now. And you'd have to go downtown to the U.S. Department of State office on 4th Street and apply there. And you have to provide proof of your exigent circumstances of what this life and death situation is. So we're just kind of waiting until things get back to normal and we can begin processing them again.
Okay, thank you very much. Good to know.
I have Commissioner Gershenson followed by Commissioner McGilvray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I wanted to commend Joe and Lisa for the way things went during the primary. We certainly put a lot of time and attention, and I thought we just did a remarkable job. I'm really proud of our team. And I wanted to say that the website, the OakGov website for elections, is great. The new updates are fantastic. It's much easier to maneuver. And Joe, I just wanted to check with you regarding the budget, how your department is looking for the future, and especially for November.
Well, we are definitely working as best we can to operate in the confines we're operating in. I mean, our department, other than a period of about 2 weeks, has been in the office every day, times 7 days a week, 12-hour days, extremely busy, and it's not going to stop. I'm trying to prepare for November. We've already had 2 recounts filed. We're being told that there's going to be a recount in the 11th congressional district. In the same 2-week time period, we have to get ballots to the printer for November. So I've spoken with Lisa, and I've spoken with the administration. And while the Constitution and state law, all these things keep putting more things on our office, that's great. Happy to help. But things will have to change structurally here in order for us to continue to do these constitutionally and statutorily mandated functions. It's just, we can't. I mean, we've already worked $33,000 of overtime, and that doesn't even count August. It doesn't even take August into account. So, you know, we just don't have enough hours in the day to do all of these things. And I appreciate you, you know, asking and because it is something that we're hoping to present at a future date. And that is just the additional bodies here and offset it with reducing overtime. And, you know, we can only push these folks so far, and then, you know, we risk losing them. So, yeah, that's where we're at. And if we need any other resource, I mean, the board has been excellent, and I certainly appreciate all of the equipment that was necessary and all of the public information funding that was necessary. We've been utilizing that. It yielded results. I know, Commissioner, you're on the other committee, but for those of you who aren't, you know, the public information campaign that we embarked on for the August primary certainly yielded results in the cross-party numbers, that we had a significant number of voters vote absentee, more than double what traditionally votes absentee in the primary, yet the crossover rate was the same as other elections. And that's because of postcard mailings and newspaper ads and a number of things that the board authorized us to utilize. So we appreciate that. We also appreciate the equipment. You know, we're being contacted. I've received calls from City of Detroit, from the state of Idaho. They all want me to tell them, how do we run an AV board like you? How do we get done so quickly? How do we do all this stuff? So there's definitely a lot of work that went into doing what we did, and it's certainly becoming a model now that the rest of the country wants to follow.
And I'll add, Commissioner Gershenson, thank you for your comment on the elections result website. If some of you aren't convinced how good ours is, look at some of our neighbors' websites, and you will see a huge difference. There's such a difference between having something that is interactive versus just like basically a PDF that you're scanning through. So it's great information. So thank you.
Do you have anything more, Commissioner Gershenson? Okay, Commissioner McGilvray, and then I have Long, then Kowal.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ron, can you tell us a little bit more about the new South End office? Hours, days of operation, manpower, and what they do there?
It's woman power. It's woman power. So it is by appointment only. So it's in the South Oakland office building on Crooks, and it is by appointment only, just as we are here. We currently have 2 staffers there. Right now, we are taking appointments 3 days a week, just as we acclimate ourselves to that location and get all the supplies we need. We're going to see how the demand goes, but that's how we're functioning right now. And basically, it is the services that you would conduct with my office on the vital record side. So vital records, notary, as I said in my comments earlier, like notary applications, we're making Zoom appointments for that. So we're really trying to reduce the need for people to come in and do an appointment. But CPL applications there too, right, Jen?
Yes, new appointment.
Yeah, CPL application, just new CPL applications. Anyone who wants to renew their CPL, they do that online.
Okay, thanks.
Next, I have Commissioner.
I should add, you know, again, as time goes on, there's the possibility that we would add someone from deeds there, but right now it's just like, this is the higher demand, I think, for our services is on the vital record side. And so, but time may change. Time may change that it's 5 days a week. Time may change that it's 1 day a week. Oh, I don't know. And, you know, maybe adding more services or not, but that's where we're at right now.
Okay.
Thank you. I have Commissioner Long next.
Thank you, Lisa. You had mentioned that you cut deputy clerk position. Was that a filled position? So someone either retired or
that was, so if you remember when I started, I had Lavora and Sheila as my deputies. And then Lavora left, and then Sandy came in, and then Sheila left. And I haven't filled it. And to find that amount of money to cut from my budget any other way, I can't cut positions from my staff. We need those positions. I mean, we cut a couple, but really we need the staff. So that's just was the decision that I made, that it needed to happen at the top. I'm not a, God, this isn't going to come out right. I'm not a top heavy person. So, yeah. So
All
there
right,
has
so
been,
then you're just having, so right now then you're having one deputy clerk only. You got rid of the other position when you had two. Okay,
right.
thank you.
Okay, I have Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you very much. Lisa, you had mentioned the directories. And I just, my suggestion for that going forward is, first of all, I know that you'd like to do the contest, to design the cover, but we do receive them. It seems like it takes forever to get them. We're usually halfway through the first year before we get the original ones. And then, of course, this year came very late. I'm glad you ordered less of them, but I would like to see us get those earlier. And then for the second year, if you want to update the information, I would suggest that you just keep the same cover. But if you want to keep people updated on, when there's changes in departments and managers and so on and so forth, I totally get that. But we get it so late that it's almost like just not even, it's a moot point by then. So I just like to see sooner rather than later, and then possibly going forward too with everything online, just in general, we could probably have less.
That information is online, and I believe that this is the third year of our 3-year contract with this vendor, so we'll be putting out an RFP for next year. Is that right? I think so. So, I mean, they were unfortunately really slow, very late last year. That was not us, that was on them. This year, yeah, I mean, they shut down, and I wanted it to be done sooner. It just obviously did not happen. So, we wait for information from our municipalities with their changed information, and it's hard because once we put it in, we still get emails from municipalities, oh, we just had a change in, whatever. And, we try and put in a hard deadline, but it sometimes gets challenging.
Thank you. I guess there's a lot more that goes into it than,
Yeah, because we wait for other people. I put in a tribute page, I don't know what to call it, to Brooks in his memory, and I was waiting for information. Like, I wanted a picture from Bill Mullen, and I didn't want to print without that. So, we're waiting for information from other people to be able to put it all together before we can send it to the printer. Then we get a proof, all that sort of stuff. So, but I hear you. I feel you. It's frustrating. And I was really frustrated this year because I love the cover. I love what our student did from Milford, Aspen. I'm looking for mine right here. I love it. Everything, so many things got canceled, our celebration for the bicentennial of our county, but at least we have the directory cover. And I think she's very talented. So anyway, any other questions?
Well, thank you very much. That's great. And I do love the cover as well. So I have yet to get into the board offices and pick up a box of the directory. So I will be coming in soon.
Good.
Thanks.
Do I have other questions? So I have a couple things. First of all, I think you've done an amazing job through COVID. I'm thrilled that there's a South Oakland County location for my communities, and I appreciate that. And Joe and your team, the high-speed counting, and, the stories, it's all truly wonderful. Do we have appropriate staffing in the elections department right now? considering the increased voting and all that is going on in the future.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't think we do. I mean, the situation has evolved over time. Proposal 18.3 has added post-election audit responsibilities that are now enshrined in the state constitution, which means we have to do them without any funding from the state to cover the costs associated with that. Our office has taken on responsibilities from other areas because of passports, for example, because the federal government prohibited that activity from occurring in vital records where birth records were being issued and someone could create a fraudulent passport. So that activity was shifted down here. This AV counting board responsibility, the communities love us doing it, and they're basically saying it's working great. I don't see that changing. There's these contractual relationships now with these CBTs, and that will continue 3 times a year, 4 times a year in presidential years, as we have elections in May, August, and November. The legislatures, as you all are aware, has changed the Campaign Finance Act to require more reports be filed with our office, which requires, more review and more filing and all of these things. So everything that the legislature is doing is having an impact on our office, and we have not adjusted staffing to keep up with that. And we're recognizing that there is a human resource cost to this, that while, we're able to perform these functions, improve efficiencies and do all these things, there's a real cost. And, I have a concern about staffing and losing people when we're just forcing them to work these, unreasonable amounts of time, 7 days a week, in some instances, 10 to 12-hour days, get burned out. And all of our, Commissioner, the thing that I want to impress too is that our division, all of our dates are in statute. It's not like, well, we'll get this done, in a couple weeks, and if we don't get it done in a couple weeks, we'll just get it done by the end of the month. But the statute says you shall do these things, and you shall do them by this date. And if you don't, here's here's what you're going to do to remedy it. You're either going to get sued in court, or you're going to have to extend the counting for ballots for military and overseas voters beyond election day. There's all these things. So what we operate in is this extremely compressed time frame where all of these activities have to be done by statutory dates, and we just don't have enough folks here to do that.
So obviously you brought in contractual counters, and are you looking at, a creative plan of what you need so we can provide you with the appropriate resources?
Yes, I am working on a plan right now that I have shared with, discussed it with the clerk and shared it with the HR department. The people who were working for us in the absent voter counting board, those folks are, contractual folks, and they came in and performed a job and left. But what goes into preparing for that, it's like planning a giant wedding that everything is in the law. The wedding plan is in the law, and you have to have it done by this day. So we had to feed these people. We had to train these people. We had to make sure that the processes were set up correctly, develop manuals, equipment setup, equipment testing. All of that stuff is done by our office and our staff. So that's where we need to be able to have additional staffing here, to just do these functions going forward. I mean, this stuff is here to stay. Like I said, some of it's in law, some of it's in the Constitution. It's not going anywhere. And so, and elections are continuing now to be on the forefront. Pick up a newspaper every day now and read about how, we're under attack, or, we're working on the technology side to protect ourselves there. Won't go into all the details publicly about that, but we're having to deal, that's a constant, thing that's on our radar. So yeah, I mean, things have changed. It really changed.
And I want to add, we didn't charge the municipalities for tabulating their ballots. And, that's a cost savings to them because those workers, those contract workers, as you call them, they were paid out of county tax dollars, which normally, the municipality would be paying their own workers. So I just want to say, like, we also, shouldered that, all of the costs for that for the municipalities without costing them anything, charging them anything for it.
Personally, I was very happy, and I think the county should be helping out on those things. So I'm glad to hear that you are working with Human Resources to address this staffing issue going forward. And so I'm glad to hear that. I have Commissioner Quarles next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too would like to thank both the clerk and the Director of Elections for the service and the time you put in working on the task force. I was fortunate enough to chair on keeping elections safe and making things easier and working with the locals. From their suggestions and direction, they gave quite a bit of time on steps that would help with keeping the election moving smoothly. And again, thank you. One of the questions I do have, are you getting more of the cities now to sign up for you to, I should say, the county to do their counting of the AV ballots?
We've had interest. Communities have requested the contractual agreement that the board adopted several months ago. Initially, when we did the survey, we had 16 communities that jumped on right away, but there was a number of communities that the number was actually 40 that said we're going to jump on board for November. So we're waiting for those folks to reach out. Some have and requested the contractual agreement. So it looks as if there may be more interest for November. And the clerk and myself will have to evaluate that and see what we'll be able to do.
Right. And to that, where, if we take on more, we'll need to do it in another location. We won't have the space to do it. Oakland ISD was great for this. It worked out, but we'll need more space. And maybe even if it's the 16, because, we'll have a higher turnout, we're going to need more people. So, that means we're paying rent somewhere, perhaps the Novi Suburban Showplace. If they're not under contract for being a backup, health facility. We'll need it for a number of days because we have to have things set up and whatever. So just, you can keep that in the back of your head that is an additional cost for us taking on more municipalities, or even if we not taking on more municipalities, but just that it's more ballots in November that, we do have to rent a large facility.
Is that a cost that we should be considering now?
Oh, we already have. I mean, we are. I'm just bringing it to your attention, especially as, as Joe said, we had 40 cities and townships that said they were interested in us tabulating their ballots for November. I don't know that even that location is big enough for, we literally, we did the math to figure out how many people, how many ballots could we process in an hour with this many people, and how many ballots are we expecting to have? So how many people do we have to hire, and figuring that all out. So, we'll have to do a lot more math to figure that all out. And it may not be physically possible to take on all 40 if they're still all interested. So we have to figure that part out.
And just to be clear, the rental amount for August, and then the rental amount for November will come from COVID CARES resources. So that won't have a direct impact on our general fund budget. But as we move forward into 2021 and 2022, some of the elections can be handled in our training room here or in the EOB conference center. So we may not incur a rental cost for that. But as we move into other larger elections, we may have to revisit our budget to add a rental amount to cover the cost of a larger scale election in 2021 or certainly the gubernatorial stuff in 2022, that if we're outside of this CARES COVID funding timeframe, and that would come out of the general fund.
Thank you. In my last question, I commend you, Clerk, on being able to make the cuts that you described. Is that, and I'm thinking about staffing, maybe I'm being a little optimistic. At some point in time, this COVID will probably be, I like to think this COVID will be behind us. As you are cutting back on your staff and your deputies, do you think that we may need to give some consideration to how you'll phase back into moving? I don't want to say back to normalcy because we never know what the new norm is going to be. But
well,
go ahead.
Yeah, almost all of my staff are currently working. They can't all work here for social distancing purposes. So that's why we have so many working at home, and that's why we have the GoToMyPC licenses and the cell phones. As I said, the micrographics positions that I cut, that's not related to COVID. Like, we are functioning with we're doing fine with the positions and the filled positions that we have down there. Those don't need to be, we wouldn't need to bring, I don't foresee ever having to bring those back. The student positions, I mean, we have other positions that we can fill those in. I did cut one, I think it was only one OA position, and then there was a clerk position, I think in clerks, right, Jen? I think I cut one OA position in deeds. But so we still have a couple of vacant positions right now. It's just that we can't fill them because we can't really hire somebody in the middle of a pandemic, because we can't train them, because you can't sit that close to somebody. So we do, it's not like we don't have any vacant positions. If you looked, you know, if you had, you know, HR run a program or a query for us, you would see some vacant positions. Just because something was vacant didn't mean it was cut or eliminated. So we're looking forward to when we can hire people and fill the ones that we still have that are vacant, so that we can, you know, but we have to be able to train people, and you can't have people sit that close together to learn a new you know, a new job. So.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I had Commissioner Middleton, you raised your hand again. Okay, nothing more.
Joe answered my question right after I raised my hand.
Okay, great, thanks. Anybody else have any questions? I want to thank you, Clerk Brown, and your team for all that you do and for coming to budget hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I can just, because Joe's on here, and I know everybody, you know, has acknowledged, and we appreciate that, everything with doing the ABCB, the AV Accounting Board and everything like that. Jennifer Howden, my Chief Deputy Clerk, her shoulders are so narrow for what she's been holding on her shoulders and carrying. She really worked hard to help set up the satellite office, and jumped on plexiglass like in the blink of an eye. Had that before I think anybody, knowing that we had to continue to serve, you know, our customers, and pushed SCAO for us to be able to ensure everybody has access to justice. So expanding the case types that can be e-filed. And then Jennifer Conte, my Chief Deputy Register of Deeds. She is really, again, you can't see, she's not pictured here, but really carrying a big load in us working on an RFP and a statement of work for deeds, having to go through the RFP process when a pandemic hits and you have people scheduled to come and give you demonstrations in person, and then having to, we had to do them all virtually and working through everything. And, she's been awesome too. So I want to thank my 3 chiefs because they've all done incredible work. They're just awesome. And Oakland County is very, very lucky to have them. And I know I am lucky to have them. So, and all the staff, I mean, from them on down to every OA, every clerk, everything. This team has stepped up and just, I think, excelled. And I couldn't be any prouder.
Thank you very much. Is there any other business to come before Finance Committee today?
Commissioner Zach, this is Lynn Sunkus. We just have the updated amendment list that was emailed this morning. It contains 2 items, 2 resolutions. That's the only update from the last week's document. 2 resolutions, one for Health and Human Services and one for Circuit Court and the Child Care Fund. So those were just resolutions that were adopted by the board on August 20th.
Thank you for keeping us up to date. And any other business to come before? Yes, Commissioner Middleton.
Thank you. When was that emailed out, the amendment list? Did that come this morning?
9:15 a.m. I just opened up my mailbox.
Okay, mine's not here yet, but I'll refresh. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Quarles.
The 2 new additions are the ones that are underlined under section C.
No, it's under section A, A11 and A12. Those are just, those are the additions for resolutions that were adopted by the board on August 20th.
Oh, okay.
So it's on page, so you'll see the summary on page 2. It's item A11 and A12, and then the detail follows on the subsequent pages. In the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a reference of the various section numbers. So you'll see one, I'll tell you what page number it is. So on page 15 of the document, you'll see the detail for A11. And on 16 of the document, you'll see the detail of the budget amendment for A12.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Any other business or questions? Yes, Pam.
Would you like to have a motion to receive and file the updated amendment list?
Yes, I would. Thank you for your reminder. I need Commissioner Long, supported by Commissioner Middleton. Any other further discussion about the updated amendment list? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed, say nay. Thank you for the reminder, Pam. Anything else to come before Finance Committee? Thank you very much, and we will adjourn until next Thursday, September 3rd at 9:30 a.m.